So I've been going back and forth on whether I should put together the Tough Talks podcast. The past few years has been a journey, and it's completely shifted my whole perspective on what actually makes life meaningful. So as one does, I quit my full-time job to start leaning into the media brand I'm creating called TUFF by Society, a platform that leans into the philosophy that our lives are perfect curation for our own growth, challenges included. And Tough Talks is the podcast to help us reconnect and build a deeper relationship with our intuition. For those moments when we might be experiencing a little bit of self-doubt, trying to navigate our path without having an idea of just like how to move forward, or feel like we're experiencing some internal blocks that are just honestly slowing down the journey. Listen, I've certainly lived there, I've been there, I've got the t-shirt, I've got the keychain, I've got everything, okay? So on Tough Talks, I speak with a whole range of guests who have navigated these same issues and came out swinging, living life a little bit more aligned. I'm your host, Jalloh, and this is Tough Talks.
If they're directing positive things towards you, what happens is that you're building yourself this ecosystem of people that will essentially encourage you, support you. You don't have all the answers, and the direction in which you're going down doesn't necessarily mean you need to do more. Sometimes doing less is more. I have now shifted, and I'm grateful for this, where the way I like to operate is like life-work balance as opposed to work-life balance.
So you probably already know Amos for his amazing work with the Kusp. Over the past few years, he has dedicated his time to helping the younger generation get their break working in media. But today, we're not here to speak about just all things business. We're here to hear about the whole journey. And it's funny because I feel like I've bumped into you at a few events, and recently we managed to finally sit down, have a full life convo, because for me, I don't do surface level chats. I want to speak about your whole life. And there was so much that you just shared about just like starting the Kusp, building it, just like all the madness of just what was happening below the iceberg of just like creating something. And for me, starting TUFF by Society, it's been a process, it's been a journey, and there's a lot of perspective and insights that I got from that conversation. So I just wanted to open it up to everybody here, and hopefully there's something that we can all learn from this conversation. So yeah, I would love to just start from the very beginning. So what was the beginning of your career journey, and unknowingly to you, possibly at the time, how has that informed how you do work today?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a fantastic intro. So I also want to say a massive thank you for welcoming me to your humble abode. This is lovely.
Welcome to my living room.
Lovely to see it. Beautiful plants and all that.
Mid-century.
Mid-century. So to answer your question, so it's like the very beginning, right? How it started. So navigating to the creative industry hasn't been like the most orthodox, but then what is orthodox in the creative industry? So I went to university. I studied civil engineering. And the reason why I studied civil engineering is because I'm Nigerian. So you have to either be an engineer, a doctor, work in finance, be a lawyer. And I felt like the creative of all of those for me was engineering.
So you succumb to the pressure.
I succumbed to the pressure for sure.
Fully.
For sure. You want to make your parents proud in some extent. And so, yeah, I chose civil engineering. After the first year, I realized that civil engineering as a career pathway, I'm not too sure about. However, the reason why I came to that conclusion is because I was exposed to the creative industry. So I started building a business, I'll probably say 3 months in. The business idea was around how can I take what I'm learning in terms of building infrastructure and turn that into a space where people could work. So lo and behold, it's called co-working spaces. So I was like, okay, I need to build a team in order to make this happen. And essentially what happened was that I was connecting with friends, colleagues, and basically trying to set something up where it enabled that to happen. However, in order to have that happen and have people working in the spaces, you need to know the people. So we set off on this task of doing like a Dragon's Den style event, local talent, and I say local, I'm from Southeast London, so whether it's employers, entrepreneurs, trying to help them set up their businesses. I had this, I guess, innate ability of kind of join the dots, building relationships with different people in different spaces, and trying to create opportunities essentially for talent so that they could excel. And so that started off there. That went well. But then my business partner at the time was like, oh, Amos, why don't we do something to work with talent? And at the time, if we could go back a little bit way back, there was a thing called Vine that everyone was using.
Yes.
So Vine.
Almost birthed TikTok now.
Exactly. The forefathers of TikTok. Ever since. 7 seconds of content, but it was amazing. And there was a really talented creative from our community, social influencer at the time, who was doing these videos. And I was like, oh, we should manage him. So I was like, all right, cool. It's a business idea. I don't know much about it, but I'll step into it. And so lo and behold, that exposed me into this world of the creative industry. It went from managing one person to managing a group, to going on tours, doing O2 academies across the UK, to then people from our community en masse saying, oh, can you manage me as well? But one of the things is that trying to do that whilst going to university, whilst working part-time at Waitrose was a difficulty. And but nonetheless, like when you're young, you've got the energy, so I'll do it regardless. I was being exposed to all of that stuff, and in being exposed to all of that stuff, one of the things I didn't want to say to people from my community was no. Right? Can you manage me? Can you manage me? Well, I can't manage all of you, but what I can do is try and create spaces for you to excel. And so what was happening is, with the little contacts that we were building at the time, with the subsequently little success that we were getting, we were doing events on music and getting talent from our community in those rooms and industry in those rooms. And then people came into those rooms and said, guys, could you do one on fashion? Like, I know nothing about fashion. I'm still studying civil engineering, but let's see what we can do and try and join the dots. And then we did one on fashion. We got brands like ASOS Marketplace involved, and we were basically selling them the vision. And then all we needed was one person from their team to come down. They came down, they saw the talent, 2 people from that event got signed to ASOS Marketplace as a brand, as small upcoming brands. And then off the back of that, you can guess what happened again. Someone said, oh, can you do one on film and TV? I was like, I didn't know what I was doing in fashion, but let's see what we can do for film and TV. And I guess the drive for me was, how can I make sure that more people like myself from communities like mine are getting into these spaces? So we did one on film and TV, and then someone got signed to a literature agency called United Agents. And it was a black female filmmaker. And I was like, okay, there's like proof in the pudding, so to speak, right? And one thing that I realized is that I definitely want to find my way into the creative industry, but I didn't know a route as to how. So what am I doing with this kind of side hustle / business right now that will enable me to demonstrate those kind of transferable skills? And it was like the branding and marketing of this talent. And so long story short, essentially what happened is that as I graduated, still completed a degree, still wanted to give my parents that kind of like, your son is an engineer. There you go, parents. They took it, mom and dad were happy. And then I was like, okay, let's see what I can do with this business. Fortunately, unfortunately, things didn't really work out. But again, an experience that didn't work out is always a learning, right?
Yeah.
And from that learning, I leveraged it to enable me to kind of pick up things with the Kusp. So when I stepped away, there was a few things that happened, whether it's the team didn't really work out well, we didn't have any mentorship, so we're stepping into things quite naively. And ultimately, when I wanted to kind of step away from running businesses, one of the clients that we had built were working with universities. So we're doing these events, bringing people together, and then universities saw them and said, oh, can you bring that kind of blueprint to our university and do that with our students to support them when they're graduating? And one of our clients was University of the Arts London. We went to LCC, we did an event there, we got like 100+ people in attendance, and that went really, really well. And then off the back of that, I was like, well, guys, it's been great working with you, but I'm not gonna be working on this business anymore. I'm gonna focus on a full-time job. And the full-time job was going into branding and marketing, right? So I went into the advertising space. And one of the things that they said to me that stuck with me was that, well, Amos, it's a shame to see you go, but if you do anything again in the future, we'd love to work with you. So as someone that is now entrepreneurial, it's like, starting up a business. She's already your first client before you even built a brand. So why not take the leap? And so lo and behold, we embarked on a journey, and it's been an interesting journey ever since.
Do you know what's so interesting about that is, I guess, hearing how you had started up this management company whilst you're at university and you're juggling all these different things. And what also stands out to me as you say that is, originally your parents had an idea of just what you were to become, and you kind of was like living that life, like, okay, you're going to become an engineer, you go to uni for that, that is the trajectory. And then you started to have an interest in being more like creative, or just like leaning into the industry. And what I'm quite interested in as well is, how was that shift for you of going and embarking on this business, I guess also whilst still doing your degree? Like, was there anything that you was like feeling internally with that? Like, did you feel as it was like a hobby or something that I'm just going to just try this out with my friends, but my mind is still, I'm still seeing myself as like, I'm still going to be an engineer and I'm still going to make that happen? Like, what was going through your mind at that time?
It's a great question. I think for me, what was driving me was the excitement of the whole experience. Like, to be able to, not a lot of people are able to say, you know, I've written something down as an idea and I brought it to life. And I think the way things kind of came together, as much as I do say it's unorthodox, it was organic, right? So naturally, I was already coming back to London, because even though I was working part-time, I couldn't find part-time work where my university was. Part-time work was in London. So I was actually traveling back to London. So
what uni did you go to?
I went to Portsmouth University.
Right.
So this is how my schedule was. On a weekly basis, 5 days a week, I would have lectures 4 days. I would have lectures from Monday to Wednesday. Wednesday, my last lecture was at midday. My shift was at 4 p.m. in London. So I'd then go to that shift, finish that shift like around 8, close of the store, 8 or 9. And then I would have a lecture on Thursday. So I'll travel back to Portsmouth on Wednesday evening. So I'd arrive probably like around maybe 10, 11, do my lecture in the morning, do the lectures for that day, and then I would have no lectures on Friday.
How was you finding the balance
with
that all? Like, I'm hearing it and I'm already like, I would be knackered.
Honestly, it was just
I'd be
sheer
absolutely
hunger,
knackered.
a lot of sugar in my system.
The Red Bulls.
And just youth. Like, I think,
yeah.
like, being older, you realize that you can bounce up, you could do multiple different things.
It's so true.
When you get to this stage, like,
when you're
you
in your
step
30s,
up.
it's just like, what? Like, I wake up,
oh.
like, take a few steps.
When I say your body
steps, I'm
cracks,
like,
I'm telling you.
It gets to midday and you're tired.
Honestly. And so I'm grateful, looking back now, that I did what I did, all that legwork, when I had the energy.
Yeah.
And so I was basically leveraging that. And I think the drive of being able to say, you know what, if I start something, and this is the kind of person I am, if I start something, I must finish it. And even if it doesn't work out, I know that I've put my effort to know that it doesn't work out. I haven't talked myself out of it. I've tried, I've tested, and I've experienced it. And like I said at the very beginning, right? Like, even though things may not work out, there's always a learning to take away. And that learning could be to pass on to someone else or apply it to the next thing that I believe God has planned for us. So that's basically how I navigated that whole situation.
So when you had started that initial business, what were some of the quick and fast lessons that was coming to you?
What are some of the quick and fast lessons that were coming to me is, I would say, you learn by doing. The more you sit on things, the more you can talk yourself out of doing things, right? And so if there's an idea, of course you break things down. How would you strategize how to execute it? And then tomorrow we're getting it done. Like, one thing I loved about my previous co-founder is that he was a go-getter. Even though sometimes it was quite scattered.
Yeah, it was still movement regardless.
It was movement regardless. And so, like, put it this way, I remember the reason why we were able to enable people to get signed to United Agents, for example, is that we met the co-founder of 11 Films. So those are the guys behind Sex Education and that Netflix show. And we were able to get into that space. It's so funny. We were able to get into that space because my co-founder said to me, Amos, and this was way back when, I don't know how it is now, security is probably up a notch, but it's like, Amos, if we hold a camera and we've got a blog, we can say that we're press. What we need to do is basically take pictures, capture content, and do a blog piece, and then share it. So it's all right, cool. So we would go into spaces, camera in hand, and then we're watching these amazing films, these premieres. And I was like, okay, cool, it'd be great to network with people in these spaces. We're supposed to be taking pictures. The camera's here. I'm looking around. I'm figuring out, okay, who's in this room and who's in this space. Again, we take a couple of pictures because we have to keep up appearances. We still need to do the content, but then it will enable us to have conversations with individuals in those rooms that would hear about what we're doing. And if we weren't in those rooms, they wouldn't know us at all. And so I think one of those quick fire learnings is that, again, it's like when you have an idea, you have a plan, just execute, you move. And at the end of the day, it's like, there's no one blueprint. There is no one blueprint. So at the end of the day, the more active and more movement there is, the more likely you are to get to a goal or find a pathway into the position that you're hoping to be in.
Yeah. So, yeah, so the first company that you had started was this music management company.
Yeah.
And I know that you had mentioned that it had some success.
Yeah.
But it ended in a way that was slightly unfavorable.
Yeah.
But what did you learn from that process?
What did I learn from that process is that I can build something from scratch, right? And I think one thing that I also learned and took away from that process is how much resilience I have. So despite how things ended, I still got love for the people that were involved in that business because I've learned a lot and still my friends today, is the fact that if I can do it once, I can do it twice.
Yeah.
If I could do it twice, I can do it 3 times. And I'm taking those experiences and those contacts and building on those things and being able to understand what those limitations were before. And now you know what you didn't know before. The movement and the trajectory will hopefully be a lot higher. And by the grace of God, it has been. And I remember one of the things that I said to myself is that if I've been able to make money from this, even though I didn't know what I was doing, all I wanted to do was serve people, how much more could I do when I have strategy now, when I know specifically who I want to serve and how I want to serve them? There's still learnings that I still have from today. It's like, you don't have all of the answers, but at the end of the day, if you don't try, you will never know what you don't know. So, yeah.
It's so interesting when you kind of phrase it like that as well. I remember seeing somewhere online where, like, if you can run it up once, you can run it up again. Literally. Without being so colloquial about it, but it's true. Like, if you've made it happen once, you can make it happen again.
Yeah.
But what would you say to somebody who had possibly made it happen in their past?
Yeah.
And might be going through a little bit of a difficult time, might not have all the faith, all the confidence. What would you say to that person who almost has forgotten that they can run it up again if they wanted to?
Yeah, you know what's interesting? I think it's being surrounded by those that are doing it. I think there's so often in this journey where you can be very isolated and then you create this echo chamber, right? And I have this analogy with people where it's like, when you imagine yourself in this bubble, and in the same bubble, you are saying positive things, but it's more negative than positive, generally speaking. And then the negative things, see them as like balls that are bouncing off the walls, right? And so you're hoping for the positive things to bounce off the wall and come back to you. But it's based on volume, right? So if you're saying more negative things like, I don't have the right people around me, I don't have the right funds, I'm not smart enough, I don't have the level of strategic thinking in order to put things together, what happens is that bubble becomes filled with so much negativity and it keeps on bouncing off of you, that now becomes your truth. However, if you imagine that your bubble can join with another person's bubble that is filled with positivity. Some negative in their bubbles as well, don't get me wrong, because sometimes what negative things that people say can bounce off and affect you. But if they're directing positive things towards you, what happens is that you're building yourself this ecosystem of people that will essentially encourage you, support you. And there's this age-old saying whereby they also have a network that you can leverage and tap into. Like, you're one conversation away from a different life, as the saying goes, right? And 100%. So with that being said, in order to have those conversations, you need to be around people that are having those conversations or have those links or speaking life into the projects that they're delivering or developing. And so for me, it's being able to be surrounded by those people. Find your tribe. I say this to my community all the time. It's like, find your tribe. When you come to our events at the Cusp, not only is it about spotlighting the talent that tends to go unseen, but it's enabling them to build collaborators. It's enabling them to build a tribe that will enable them to create good work. And that can happen in the most rarest circumstances. But what doesn't often happen is the parameters for that to happen. So I say this in a way whereby sometimes you go to networking events and it's like, you come in, you're standing by the wall and you're hoping someone says something to you.
Yeah, it can be so awkward. There's no music,
100%,
there's no vibe.
There's no vibe. And you know what? And you know what it is? It's down to the community leaders to set that. And sometimes they feel like, you know what? I have a space, I have a title of my event, and the intention is good, but you need to set the tone of the room. You need to set the tone of your community. And so once you set that tone, then everyone feeds off it, and then it has a trickle effect. Like, one thing my community know me for is that if I know what you're doing, and you're looking for a producer, and you've told me you're looking for a producer, I'm going to find someone in the room and I call it manually connect you. And one of the reasons why I like to do that is because our ethos is create for introverts, accessible for extroverts, right? So normally in the creative industry, it's like you got to scream about what you do. So if you're extroverted, everyone knows what you're doing. But if you're introverted and you're still talented, it's a bit harder for you to navigate. You come in and you overthink sometimes. And this is me talking as someone that is like a self-proclaimed introvert/extrovert, right? Ambivert, if you will. And so I've realized that that's an issue. So how about I set that first conversation, and then once an introvert, generally speaking, finds someone that they can connect with,
it's the unlock.
They don't stop talking. You don't stop talking. And it's brilliant because then that causes a ripple effect for more people to come into that circle. And again, what happens now is that that bubble that I use as a metaphor now slowly expands, and the negative thoughts, which were the negative balls that were bouncing off you at the beginning, have now expanded. Now you've got like this lease of hope. This lease of, you know what, I'm not by myself in this. And I'm more than capable of executing some of these ideas and these plans when other people start to feed into that. So,
you know, I think that's really beautiful. It's just finding your tribe, finding your people, finding the group of people who align with exactly what you're trying to be doing. Otherwise, you can find yourself in these like silos, these like echo chambers, and it's just not a good place to be. Although I do know some people who do work very well in like solitude.
Yes.
I'm definitely like one of them. Yeah. But I know for like a large majority, having that like community, that like, you know, team, having that team with you is really, really important. And to be honest, it is quite necessary. And I guess one thing that we had spoken about that resonated with me as well was, I guess, like hustle culture. Yeah. And from my own experience, whenever I felt as though like I wasn't doing well in something, I would overwork it. Like I would overwork it. And I'll think, okay, cool, then I'm not gonna rest. I'm gonna stay up, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna work over the weekend, I'm gonna like stay late. And like it, for me personally, just like, I had no balance. And in my experience, I learned that it's so important to also have balance, have time for rest, be able to kind of like separate and then come back. And I'm just keen to just hear about your experience, because you're across so many different things. Like how are you finding the balance?
Yeah, I totally align with your sentiment around having to like kind of overwork in order to try and make things up to see if they're going to come to fruition. But one thing that I've learned over the years is that sometimes you need to give things space in order for it to expand. And I say that in a sense whereby you're consistently over it, it has no room for it to kind of flesh out a little bit. So the way in which I try to address that is by just taking some time out and I guess going on trips, being in different environments. And not only is that like nationwide, but I'm talking like traveling, going abroad and seeing how other creative communities kind of thrive. And even if it's just a case of like, Amos, you're taking a break, put the work down. Then it becomes less of a chase. It becomes more of like a purpose-driven pursuit, right? And I think there's a nuance between those two things. I think chasing for something is like I feel like your value as an individual is attached to that. And I don't want my value to be attached to the work that I do. If I do have that, what happens is that I'm consistently in the spiral of doing what's the next thing? What's the next thing? I'm trying to prove myself. This is who I am. This is my identity. When I know this is just an essence of who I am. And in order to be my full self, I need to be away from it in order to engage in it well. And so I think to answer your question more so directly, I think one of the things that I tend to do is just give things space to breathe, 1, 2, allow other people to feed into it. And then I would say 3, not be too hard on myself, because again, you don't have all the answers. And the direction in which you're going down doesn't necessarily mean you need to do more. Sometimes doing less is more.
Yeah.
I think sometimes doing less is more because then it's more focus, and it also gives people an opportunity to see where they can fit in your bigger picture, because people want to chime in sometimes. People want to actually add value, and they don't know when to add value when you're always working, because they don't know when to catch you. They don't know when to sit down and have a conversation. And so I found that when you slow things down, and also very important, it comes back to like finding your tribe, let things go. Like over the years, understanding how to delegate has been a life changer. Like being able to delegate to people and being able to also, when I say delegate and not micromanage is so important. Because everyone has their own unique ability and their own unique perspective on life and how things should be delivered. You may have a vision on how things could be delivered and executed, but it takes a team for that execution to truly come to life. And people can come into your story and elevate it into a totally different stratosphere to which you hadn't been privy to, because you've been so focused on just working, getting it done. And so being able to delegate and give people space to breathe in those environments has been a true game changer for me. Like one of the things that I do when I bring people onto my team, I make sure it's a priority is to understand what their personality type is. And like the personality type is more or less of understanding, how do you like to work? What inspires you? How do you like to receive feedback and criticism? Because some people like you to be blunt, and some people like you to be like a little bit softer with your approach. And this has also allowed me to grow. So everyone is growing in this experience, and it's also allowing the idea itself to grow and flourish.
As you're saying that, part of me is also thinking like, this guy's not even on socials. So I feel like there's, you naturally also have like a step away from like the digital madness, because you've never engaged in it, which is a bit like you're a bit of a unicorn, because like you're just not engaged. And for people who are like on socials, and are like scrolling on Instagram every day and like seeing the pressure of just like their mates are just like, everybody's like working, everybody's obviously you're showing just your absolute highlights, so obviously. But a lot of people are like also falling for it too, and like in my personal experience of just being a chronic scroller, as like the rest of us, I've ended up having to just like get an app called Screen Zen.
Okay.
Who needs to sponsor?
Okay.
Called Screen Zen. And I literally now just like use Instagram literally during my like working hours.
Okay.
And then like after 6:30, it locks off. It's off on the weekends.
That's good.
And it like starts at like 8:30 a.m. just so I can just like have a little bit of space and I'm just not fully on it.
Yeah.
But I had to put parameters in place.
It's good.
But for the people who are loving a little bit of a scroll, loving a bit of a late night scroll, but maybe unknowingly to them or knowingly to them, it's making them feel a little bit bad. They're like online, everybody's doing all this stuff. What advice would you give to them other than delete your app?
And then delete your app. Yeah, I think you touched on it a little bit there, where it's like everyone's showing their best bits. That's for one. And perception is not reality, right? Some people are going through some challenging things, yet they're trying to keep a smile on their face and demonstrate that they're having a great time. It's kind of like during a time of like, when we used to go to parties in university and you go to a house party and then everyone's on Snapchat and there's a moment where one good song comes on, everyone's jumping, and then that's 10 seconds, song changes, everyone's back to, they're back against the wall. And I think it's sometimes it's like that on social media. And I think it's everyone's first time living.
Yeah.
It's everyone's first time living.
We're all living life for the first time.
Everyone's
give us some
living
grace.
So give everyone grace and give yourself grace. No one has the full-on answers. Everyone's still trying to figure it out. And that's what's helped me in the business world, where it's like, you would think some of these people where you see articles, because you will see articles of like startup founders, they've raised this, they've raised that, but they are not sleeping. Some of them that have families, they're not seeing their families. And like, I have now shifted, and I'm grateful for this, where the way I like to operate is like life-work balance as opposed to work-life balance, where it's like, it enables you to have that peace, have that moment to just like sit down and actually consider the blessings that you have in front of you, and where you are now is not the final destination. So how can you continually take each day as it comes and do your best during the day? Because all of the things that we're doing will compound.
Yeah.
And so
100%.
when you've seen someone's journey, and some people, granted, are showing their best bits, and some people, granted, are showing the actuality, like things are great for me now, but you don't know how many broken plates that they have behind the curtain, to the point now in front of the curtain, you're seeing them juggle the 4, the 5, the 6. And I think it's all part of the process of giving yourself grace, continue to be resilient, and then more than often than not, is to understand things compound.
Do you know, with you saying that, it just made me think about seasons. And we all go through seasons. And I know in your journey, especially when you're like building out a business, there's different seasons within that as well.
Yeah.
How have you dealt with those quiet seasons? Maybe even at the beginning of a business, when it's just like, you're just waiting to see a little bit of something.
Yeah.
You know, like just, you know, like when is the harvest gonna harvest? You know?
Absolutely. How do I deal with the quiet seasons? I would say, I think my faith helps me. I think my faith helps me more than, I'd say to people, like, my faith is a cheat code, really. Because my faith in God has grown over the years. And I think being a Christian, it's a case of understanding that it says in various different places within the word, but one thing that stands out to me is that, and I'm paraphrasing here, but like, the God that we serve will provide us with good things because we love him, right? And I'm paraphrasing that so heavily, so my bad to anyone that reads the word. I should have that scripture written down.
No
But
judgment, this is a safe space.
This is a
okay?
safe space. Amen. Give us
Yes.
grace. Give us
Comment
grace.
the full verse.
Yeah, grace. Comment the full verse. But ultimately, it's understanding that there's truth in that. And then also, there is a very powerful scripture that says, and I think we discussed it last time we spoke, where it's a case of consider it pure joy when you go through trials of many kind, because you are being formed, right? You're being formed into the individual that you were meant to be, person that has purpose. So without the challenges, without the moments of quietness, right? Like if everything was always going right, which people say in other realms, like if everything was going right, you will never know the value of providing for others. And I say that from a perspective of when someone else goes through a challenging moment, what will be the value for them is like, how did you deal with that? Because I don't know how to deal with what I'm dealing with
Where's
right
that
now.
testimony?
Yeah.
Where's that
Like,
testimony?
and if he was like, oh, it always worked out for me, it'll work out for you. It's like, but that's not my reality. My reality is I'm
Also, it's a movie
struggling.
you don't want to watch.
Yeah.
You know, who wants to watch a movie where like nothing happens?
There's no climax. There's nothing in it. And so I think, yeah, coming back to like the scriptural point, it's like understanding that going through these trials are what's shaping you. And in that shaping of you, you provide more value. Because not only does your business or whatever it is that your creative craft is providing add value to people's lives, but your story and your testimony, as you've put it, will add to people's lives no matter what stage they're at. So I think during those quiet moments, it's like, I consider it pure joy. It's like, okay, great. I'm going through these challenges right now. It's hard. Rent, I have to get paid. So it's hard.
Yeah.
But
faith.
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 But God, do you get me?
Yeah.
And also coming back to my faith as well, is understanding that the God that I serve is a God of suddenly. Like in every kind of scenario, when you read the word or you look at other people that are of faith and have trusted him, it's like, I was going through this, but then there was a breakthrough. Suddenly there was a breakthrough. And so I think that's what helps me and keeps me pushing. And then also I'm just grateful to God for the people that he puts in my life. So in those moments where I am finding it tough and I want to confide in someone, there's always someone there for me to have a conversation with. And even on the inside, where I'm sure you get this as well, where like you're going day in, day out, and it's like, oh, this is hard. Do I want to even carry on doing this? And then someone randomly messages you, or you see someone randomly at South by Southwest, and they're like, oh, I've seen the stuff that you're doing.
Yeah.
You inspire me, keep it up.
Yeah.
And it's just that little bit of that bud of faith.
Well, you're like, we go again tomorrow.
We go again.
We go again
I was about to crash out.
Yeah, but
I was going to break down this set, but
yeah.
we go again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because tomorrow is another day. And the fact that we have the grace and the opportunity to wake up means that we're not done. So that keeps me going.
That's honestly, it's so beautiful. One question that I also had for you that I feel like could be like super helpful for like the rest of us, because honestly, just doing Tough by Society, I've been humbled so much in like the past few months.
That's good.
Of thinking two things. One thing is timeline.
Yes.
Of just thinking, having the whole like kind of 5-year plan and thinking at this beat, this is going to happen, that beat, this is going to happen. And you're doing it and you're just like, I'm already 3 years behind and it's been 2 months. Or however long.
I hate you.
1 more months, but it's I already feel like I'm like 3 years behind.
Yeah.
So what have you learned about like timelines for you when you've been like navigating your businesses, in terms of just like, what's realistic? What are times when you just like had a goal in mind and like it's taken longer than expected? Just timeline in general.
I think one of the things that I've learned about being around not only creators but other founders, and they don't necessarily need to be in the creative industry, like I've been around tech founders, is that the ability, and not even just tech founders, just founders in general, is that the ability to be adaptable is one of the most crucial skills that you should have. And I say this is because, to your point about you set this whole timeline, that timeline is helpful as a guardrail. But sometimes, or most times, it will never go as you plan. It's like, oh, I'm going to do this by this date, this, and then like a spanner gets thrown in the works. A chair gets thrown in the works, right? And you're like, oh, how do I navigate? Now my plan is like completely broken. Like, should I continue? No, it's like, okay, how do I reorientate, right? How do I find this route. It's kind of like being on, like I use the metaphor of like using maps and then you make a wrong turn, right? It will still get you back to that destination.
These might even be better.
But it might be better. Or you've added another 20 minutes to the journey.
Yeah.
But you just have to have the resilience to stay on the journey because you're still going to get to that destination. So without adding any more metaphors to the mix, I would say adaptability is what's helped me, because it's important to realize that most things won't go as you plan, but it's always good to have a plan because it shows that you're prepping for that next level. It's just now being able to push through to that next level based on whatever comes will actually help you build the skill set, build the resilience, and have the aptitude to maintain it when it gets to that next level. Because when you get to that next level, there's going to be more than just like your plan being broken.
Yeah.
There's going to be things that you didn't expect will come into the picture, things that you have to pay for, that you have to fork out money for. But then the resilience that you've built on the way when your plan was disrupted
helps you maintain the blessing.
Because I've done it, I've been able to do it before.
Yeah.
I should be able to do it now.
Yeah. If you run it up once,
you can run it twice.
You can run it up again.
Yeah.
And like, I guess another one, I guess a quick one in terms of business.
Yeah.
What was easier than you expected, and what was a lot harder than you expected?
What was easier than I expected is that people will believe in what I'm doing. Because of my experiences, previous businesses, and even just like there was a gap that I missed out. Like, so after graduating, starting a business or starting a new business, I touched on it, but I didn't go into it further, where I went to work in marketing and advertising. There was a lot of, to put it like, without overcomplicating it, trust issues that were built up, which hurt me to an extent and it impacted me, but also built me to a point whereby now one of the most important traits that I value in other people and make sure to maintain for myself is integrity. So if I say I'm going to do something, I must do it. I will deliver. And so with where I was going on that point is being able to realize that people actually, when I was sharing my project and what I was working on, because it was a project to begin with. And what used to hurt me before was the fact that it was a business in my eyes and people was like, oh, what's that side project that you're doing?
What's that little,
like, what?
That little hustle?
Do you want to fight? Like, honestly, it hurt at the time, but then I was like, you know what? It's a vision that they hadn't seen, right? But then there was other people that were like, how can I help your business? Because I love what you're doing. But then my trust issues was like, you're just saying that, like, so I don't want to bother you. To your point earlier on in the conversation, I just want to get it done by myself. It's like, no. Amos, how can I help you? How can I be on your advisory board? And I was like, oh, rah, okay. So that's what surprised me at the very beginning, how much people believed in me. Because as the saying goes, like, some people believe in you more than you even believe in yourself, right? Yeah. Sometimes it starts like, oh, I could potentially do this. Like, no, I think you can. And I want to help you. So that was
the tribe.
Exactly. And so that was super helpful for me at the beginning. What was hard? What was hard at the very beginning?
Well, what was just harder than you expected in general?
I think at any point, I think you don't realize how much, I don't want to sound negative, but
to be real.
To be real, it's like, sometimes you need to be broken to be built. You need to be broken to be built up. And that's hard to take because we're like, oh, I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to feel damaged, which is why people avoid it, because it's like, it's going to hurt my confidence. And so I don't want it to kill my confidence or hurt my confidence.
It hurts it even more when you don't do it.
And so this is the thing, to be at the end of this all and be able to say, I wish I had that. Oh, I don't want to wish. I want to have tried it. And even if it didn't work, coming back to the point, you're serving someone, right? Like, one thing that Chadwick Boseman, may he rest in peace, I love his interview that he did at Howard University. I watch that back every couple of months just to keep myself inspired, where he says, if you're pursuing anything, make sure you don't pursue a job, you pursue purpose. Because purpose transcends a role. Purpose transcends a specific position. Purpose is an essence of who you are. So if you're already living in that, it becomes a lot easier for you to take the punches, because it's like, well, it's part of my purpose. It's part of who I've been chosen to be, right? Whether you believe it's, oh yeah, my parents said this, but if you believe in a higher power, for me, it's like, okay, cool. I already knew you before you were formed. And this is my faith in God.
It's already been written.
It's already been written. Everything is by
it's just
design.
Not living up to it.
Exactly. Everything is by design.
Anyway, so yeah.
Exactly. Everything is by design. So it's being able to say, you know what, it's already called for. So let me just show up, coming back to my point, every day, be broken, because I know I'm going to be built up anyway. So
yeah. No, that's honestly, honestly, I truly relate to that. And I feel like to another to another one of these speeches, I also listen to Steve Jobs' speech quite often as well. And for people who feel like they're struggling to like find their purpose, one thing that he says is just keep looking.
yeah.
Just keep looking for it. Like keep trying different things, and there's going to be something that sticks. And just when you kind of lean into that, then everything in your life will just transform, and it's worth the journey. It really is worth the journey. But thank you so much. You've been an amazing guest. And
thank you.
Before you go,
yes,
I'd like to ask you one more question.
Oh wow. Okay.
What are your 3 tough philosophies on life?
Oh, what are my 3 tough philosophies on life? I don't know why I said "oh" in such a powerful way. Like one Nigerian. Oh, goodness. Life philosophies, 3 life philosophies. Okay. What is for you will find you. That's one. Delay is not denial. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Yeah.
Big. Major,
yeah,
honestly.
That's it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Really
Superstar.
appreciate it.